Johnny here from fourwheelingandwesternaustralia.com, and welcome to another video adventure. This time we are heading towards the south. We're heading to a place called Israelite Bay, and it's quite far from Perth actually. We drove all last night to cut the trip up, and right now we are almost at Belladonia, Belladonia Roadhouse is where we're going. That's our final top up, and diesel's starting to get a bit more expensive the further we get along Air Highway. So the last top up before we end up in the bush for a good week, before we're going to see any more fuel stops or anything. So the overall trip plan is to start at Israelite Bay, which we have been to before, but this time we're going to go east, and we're going to go east all the way along the Sand Cliffs, all the way along the Australian Bight, and our intended end destination is the old air highway in South Australia. So we are crossing borders this time around. We just came from Norseman. Fuel there was $1.36 per litre. Here it's $1.66. So that is a massive jump. So luckily we're just doing a little top up here. Let's just talk about fuel capacity. Wayne's Land Cruiser has 220 litres on board, 180 litres in two 90 litre tanks, and two jerry cans with 20 litres each. My Land Cruiser has a standard 130 litre fuel tank, and I've got two sub tanks that have 86 litres in them each, so it equates to 302 litres. Then you got Torben and Juha. Juha has 220 litres, 40 of those litres is in jerry cans, and of course Torben, he also has sub tanks underneath. I believe he has 280 litres of fuel capacity, so we've got decent range. It was time to leave the open road and hit the dirt. Now we had 186 kilometres ahead of us of rough roads and rough terrain, so we had a big task at hand. It wasn't long before the road got really rough, so we decided to pull over and take a bit of pressure out of the tyres. We needed a quick stop before lunch and a bit of a leg stretch, so Ninia, which is an abandoned homestead, served as that point for us. Now on the way to Israelite Bay, there are 4 of these abandoned homesteads. Some are more or less in ruins, and others are quite well and truly intact, like this one here.
Looks like a scene out of a horror movie.
Looks like quite a few visitors come through here. It's nearly pretty much every week you get someone pull them to sign the book. 12th October. And the 14th, that was last week, Monday last week.
When you're in the bush and you want a quick lunch break, quick and easy food is the best. Lunch is down, and we may have one more stop on the way to Israelite Bay. Otherwise we'll just go straight there, depending on time. And as you've probably noticed already, I've got a new tray on the back. So before we head off, I'm going to check all the mounts on the tray to make sure they haven't started rattling loose. And you may have also noticed that Torben's changed his back of his tray as well. So over the next couple of days, we'll go through each vehicle briefly so you can see what's going on. Being the lead vehicle does have its good advantages, but it also has its disadvantages. Now, the advantages of being a lead vehicle is you control the pace and you don't have the dust. The dust is the main advantage. But the disadvantage is you're kind of responsible for getting lost. You're responsible for getting places on time, even though you can't set the pace. You still want to get to camp before dark, most of the time anyway. But yeah, like as far as responsibilities go, you really got to call through if there's any conditions on the track that are bad, like that one there. Another hole coming up on the right, stick to the left, you'll miss it. So calling through anything on the way is what we all do, especially with all the dust behind me. There's no way people can see what's coming up if they're in the dust too much. So right now, everyone's sitting about half a kilometre to a kilometre apart, and with our radio range, it's no problem. U-Haul's got a flat on the 105 series. I'm going to go back and give him a hand. Hopefully it's just a plug job.
Gonna go back up there, buddy?
Yeah, I'll go back up there now. Hopefully it's a plug job.
No, man, it's sidewalk. Yeah? Yep.
Lucky we all got 5 studs, and we're all eyeing off Torben's 2 spare tyres now. He's the only one carrying 2 spares. We had been driving for a long time and we were roughly halfway. Where we stopped is called Pine Hill, and we stopped here to do a leg stretch and collect some wood. Now, as for those 2 graves we are looking at right now, I had to do a bit of research to find out what they're about, and they are for 2 travellers who met unfortunate events, so the death is unknown. We're collecting a lot of hardwood a fair way from camp, because all of a sudden all these trees are not going to be there, and then we would have passed the opportunity of getting wood. It's always best to collect the wood far away from camp, because everyone tends to collect near camp, so you always find there's not enough wood lying around. And it's good hardwood here as well. But unfortunately, we were meant to have a chainsaw with us, but Torben thought Wayne was bringing one, Wayne thought Torben was bringing one, so we're using the hand saws. Something else a lot of you guys have been asking about is how or who makes these boxes. Well, it's just your cheap rhino box, made in Australia. I didn't even know that. There you go. I just got this from the warehouse, and what I've done is I've just tech screwed, just straight into it. Wood screws and metal tech screws straight into it. And it holds it all pretty well. And the old saying, especially with overland, you know, full drives and stuff, is to make use of all the space you can. And yeah, that's what I've done here. So everything just fits in. And it's all nice and organised. So I'll do this one back a bit. This red fruit is called kwandong. Most of the time if you see something red and you don't know what it is, do not eat it. However, I did know that I could eat the outer shell of this fruit, but I forgot about the inside. So if you're not sure about something, don't eat it. Underneath the peel, there is a kernel. You can crack that open to reveal a nut, which is also edible. But when in doubt, don't eat it. Done quite a few kilometres today, and this track was a bit longer than anticipated just with the roughness of it. This is the better part of the track at the moment. And then came the wet salt lakes, which I completely forgot about that we had to cross. Not something I'd prefer to do at night. We have arrived at Israelite Bay. We're now at the little cemetery that's here, and these are people that died here working at the telegraph station. We actually missed this last time we were here, so pretty cool to find it this time of the night anyway. John Francis Postmaster.
That was 1920. This is
1890.
John Healy Postmaster, 1890.
John Smith.
Killed Micah Mine accident, 18th to the 12th, 22.
So we're over here with the boys, and what did you guys just eat?
We had buttered chicken.
Buttered chicken, pre-cooked by...
Nathan's wife.
How good is that? I think we need to get some tips of these guys. Away for 10 days, and he got his missus to cook dinner for him. All he's doing is reheating it. Is that every night?
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
I did. My wife cooked 5, and Nathan's cooked 5. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, be talking to you guys a bit later about that. On this particular adventure, it's about 9 or 10 days. We're taking turns in cooking, and between the 3 of us, there's 5 of us here, but the 3 of us are rotating on cooking. So Wayne, who's holding the camera right now, Torben, who's standing over there in the shadows, and myself, we are rotating with 3 meals each. I'm first up. We're going the pork roast. We're having 3 of those on this trip. 3 pork roasts. Tomorrow we're going to leave here. I'm not sure how early, depends how keen these fishermen are. And if they're pretty keen, we'll let them have a fish. We're going to have a look at a telegraph station, and then we're going to go to Bilbunya Dunes. Now we have been to Bilbunya Dunes in a previous adventure trip, but this time we're actually going to camp there, and we're going to go further. So we're going to go all the way to South Australia if we make it there. That's our intentions. And we're going to cross, well, we're going to get there via the backs of the cliffs. We're going to follow the cliffs and the beaches as much as we can. Although I've been told by a few people who frequent down this way that some areas turn into a bit of a soup of sand and seaweed. So we'll see how we go when we get there. But for now, I better get back on to cooking so I don't burn anything, and I'll see you in the morning. the ruins of Israelite Bay Jetty. When the place was in operation, this jetty used to serve the telegraph station and nearby farmers. Old cruiser. I think they retired it to a workbench. So we just stopped to check out the fishing shacks. We'd driven past them last time, but we never stopped in and have a look. There's a few people actually staying here. Whale spine. And part of the head or something?
Jaw, maybe.
Jawbone. Yeah, jawbone makes sense, yeah.
That's huge, eh? That's a big bone.
Oh, yeah?
It's
Must
got to
be
be a
one
rib or
that-
something, that one.
Yeah, it's fair the same as that, but as they get smaller
Yeah.
going down, yeah.
Alright, we're now off to Bill Bunyan Dunes now, and we've got 30 kilometres of salt lakes to cross, so we'll find out very soon the condition of the track ahead. So this time round when we're here, there's a lot more water than last time, and I remember recording this section, this exact same spot which had water in it. This time it's got water again, and I'm just going to emphasise you cannot go around these because you're just going to go down. Once you break through this crust, you go down. So that track there, it's under highly concentrated salt water. We're going to go very slow over it so we don't cover the calm water because that's more salty than the ocean. But it's like an ice skating rink under the water. So one at a time, we'll see what happens. We're about halfway along the Salt Lakes, and they weren't too bad actually, but if you had a convoy of 10 vehicles, I reckon it's quite likely that the last few are gonna, risk getting bogged. So it's fairly soft, but it's not too bad with 4 cars. Just can't sit in the exact same wheel ruts as the car in front, otherwise it's just digging down too deep. But we're halfway. We're finally at the beach. There's Bill Bunyan Dunes behind us, and we are just here, ready to enter the beach. We're going to lower our tyres a little bit more, even though the sand is actually quite solid. We don't know what's around the corner, but it looks pretty solid. I reckon we can probably stay in high range and get a bit of speed up here too. Welcome to Bill Bunya Dunes. Only problem is we've got to try and find a way up close to the dunes. So obviously we don't want to be driving over vegetation, but there are ways you can get in negotiating around it. This one wasn't it, so we've got to find another one. We finally found a way to get up close to the big dunes, and right now Juha and Wayne have gone separate ways through the dunes to try and find the best spot to settle down for the night. Bill Bunya Dunes, some of the whitest sand you will find in Western Australia, and these are possibly the tallest dunes in Western Australia as well, getting up to about 120 metres in height. This sand dune system is about 23 kilometres in length and is about 3 kilometres deep, so it's a fairly decent size. In part 2, we hit the dunes, have some fun, encounter some wildlife, and this happens.
Just gonna need